Mark Hogarth, Harris Tweed Hebrides, Creative Director. I think they are there, and there's definitely in place now at Harris Tweed a system that can be accessed. Unfortunately, this is the problem that we do have. We can't just continue to give away cloth for nothing, or looks a little bit suspicious bad on the bottom line of the balance sheet. So what we try and do now is we've got a shop set up there. Materials can be accessed. Obviously, if there's any imperfection in materials, they'll get wasted, so they can be utilised by students who are just looking to experience the cloth. People really love Harris Tweed and love its ability to cut and its ability to move. You can be very, very aggressive in the cut when you use Harris Tweed. So I think that is a positive, and it can be accessed. If there's a way that we can possibly sponsor a student, which we do and we have done, we will do that. But of course, there are thousands of fashion students out there, so we can't just give away fabric across the board. Particularly now, where Harris Tweed is a premium product, it is expensive, so it can be accessed. I think also when it comes to young designers, we try to accommodate certain discounts and make it readily available. What I always say to students and young designers as well is that by using Harris Tweed, you're actually getting a great platform to project your own brand and to project your own design ethics as well. So all in all, it's not an ideal situation. We'd love to be more charitable, but fundamentally we do still have to run a business at the same time. So I think on the functional level, the shop that's now been set up by Harris Tweed Hebrides provides a wide variety of cloth which can be sold at the metre, so that way the students and the young designers can use that into their wider designs, and it really upscales the product. We don't actually go out looking for it. It's probably my job is to try to look at the gaps in the market and try to look at clients and design houses, individual designers, where I see their collection and have a feeling that Harris Tweed really could be compatible with what they're trying to do from an aesthetic. But more importantly nowadays, it's not just the aesthetic, it's the process, it's the ethics of their design process and the ethics of our design process. And by putting those two together, you get a situation whereby the final product is truly greater than the sum of the individual parts. I think it's really important. Harris Tweed, for example, is an amazing product, but it's only as good as the final designer that engages with the product, that cuts it into a certain design. So if we were only selling to mainstream clients, cutting Harris Tweed as it always used to be just into simple jackets, we would not develop the same brand equity as we've managed to do today. So to cite a couple of examples over the last few years, Shot Perfecto, who made the original biker leather jacket as worn by Marlon Brando, Bruce Springsteen on the cover of Born to Run, etc, etc. They did their classic Perfecto biker jacket but in Harris Tweed. That was an incredible product itself, but also journalists, fashion journalists, they need to write about something, and it gives them a great finished product that they can write about from a style perspective. It also deepens our brand because we are collaborating, almost hijacking the shop brand, and the shop brand vice versa, collaborating and hijacking Harris Tweed. Well, there's a traditional structure to Harris Tweed. The majority of Harris Tweed is sold at Premier Vision in Paris in September for the following autumn-winter season. But we have also targeted clients. So the first client area I targeted was Savile Row, because Savile Row is all about artisan skills, very traditional. It's about the precision and the finish and the quality of the fabrics and the quality of the other elements that are going into the finished suits. Also, I thought we had to diversify in terms of our demographic, so we took a bit of a risk and we worked with Topman. But Topman have been amazing in themselves, because them, H&M and a few other high street brands, so to speak, have completely blurred the distance between haute couture designer and what happens on the high street. They really have close that gap, blurring it to the extent that now that perhaps you could argue it doesn't really even exist anymore. So if we become associated or synonymous with only one sector of the industry, then we would have crumbled, because we could still have been in the behest of the fashion industry. The fashion industry is defined by something that's in one season and not in the next. And when Harris Tweed is an industry where people are depending, their livelihoods are depending on that industry and those orders, we had to have a much more solid approach to the longevity of the brand. I think you've got to be relevant to each designer, you've got to be relevant to each company that's going to put your fabric into their designs. You can't be relevant to everybody, because that just would not be possible. But it's about keeping an emotional connection, it's about keeping a vibe and an engagement with your clients. I think formerly Harvey Tweed, the slight problem was there was a little bit a lacking emotional distance between the product, the supply side, and the demand side. And what we've done at Harvey Tweed every day is to try and close that up, have a good account management system, realise that we're not going to sell to everybody every season, but at least show them the different patterns and the different designs that Harris Tweed can do, whether it's for a fashion-led client or for a purely design and style-led client.
My name's Kevin Stewart, I'm the Regional Press and Marketing Manager for Harvey Nichols. I cover the north of England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. I think there's been many lessons learned in business this year. Most importantly, I think within my role, I think I've learned that giving extra value to the customers is the most important thing. Being able to offer them the brand edits that we do is incredibly important, but to be able to give them more value to their shopping experience has really helped us build our business and grow financially. When we do events, we do charge for them. However, with that charge, they do receive extra benefits, whether that's in a discount or whether that's with complimentary hospitality, complimentary entertainment. So giving the customer an extra experience and value to that experience, I think, has been key in keeping our customers loyal and supportive of our brand. Such a competitive market right now, and I think to be able to stand out is really important for emerging talent. I think the classic ways of being able to get in touch with buyers and with people within the industry it's almost a little bit saturated. So for them to be able to do something that's a bit more quirky and a bit more fun will really make them stand out. Of course, it always depends on budget, but there are ways of getting around it, and I think as we spoke about earlier, I think using film rather than static photography may be an interesting way of actually saying, this is my brand, and it could be really short and really quick, but it could be just a bit more fun and show really what the brand ethos is about rather than just flat photography.
Hi, I'm Ben Andrew, I'm the menswear buyer for Liberty. I think a brochure is always good, so you've got something to hand and it's always a reference point, and then I follow that with a call or an email to say how you received it, any thoughts, or what's your feedback on what you received. I think it's always better to send information on the brand, so that when you're then contacting the buyers, informed about what you're selling essentially. Trade shows for us, so it starts the year with Pitti, and then it's Capsule in Paris, Man Show in Paris, quite fashion events, not so many sort of textile trade shows. I mean, yeah, they're fundamental. It's a great place to tick off loads of boxes. So brands, for instance, have been in touch, but you might not have time to make it to the showroom. You can see 10 or 15 brands in an afternoon, and obviously there's going to be things that you've never heard of. There's so many brands showing, so it's a great opportunity to discover something new. I'm not really too in for gimmicks. I think great product speaks for itself, so I think just be honest about what you're doing. You're not going to be for everybody, but as long as you've got an honest proposition, I think most buyers will respond to that and give you constructive feedback whether you're for them or not. So. Very important. I think that can really set you aside from a lot of other people. So if you've got, if it looks premium, always, I think it's very trend for very minimal labelling, so it's the first thing the customer sees and the buyer sees, and you can really set your brand apart from other brands. I think so on certain products. So for instance, we do very well with Johnson & Elgin scarves. I think where there's a real resonance with certain product areas, then it makes a real difference. So Scottish wool and textile, again, I think that's an area where people are prepared to pay more on a more fashion level and not sure it's so important. I think someone like Crystal Kane or Jonathan Saunders are great designers, whether they're from Scotland, whether they're from that. I think that transcends the sort of nationality aspect. I think the history of textiles and sort of, they're synonymous with quality and luxury fabrics, and I think people have a real romantic idea about Scottish products and designs.
I'm Caroline Parkinson, Director of Creative Development at Creative Scotland. The genesis of the idea was really with Chris, but before I met Chris, the Industry Reference Group for Fashion and Design had met and had said about their frustration of wanting to get a Scottish event and an international showcasing opportunity. And when Chris came along almost exactly the same time and said, I'm frustrated, I want to do something about this. So that's interesting, that's just been getting discussed by the industry. So I said, why don't you go and talk to industry, talk to partners, and then come to us with a model that the industry had agreed upon, that partners feel that they can support, and then see if we can help you. So he did that, he did all his homework, and he came back with Scotland Redesigned and applied for funding from us to support the beginnings of that, and that's how we got involved. I feel like it gives them such an opportunity to discuss with each other the state of the industry and how they feel that they can work together, and gives them an opportunity to showcase, to sell their work, to show it to buyers who might sell their work, and that's what I feel that it does. I really love how the collective has come together. So we have an open call and people come forward, but when they come forward they start helping each other. There isn't a sense of competition from the group, and it's really great to see. They all help each other in the shows and on the runway, in the sales events with trade buyers, and it's just so great to see that sharing of skill and ability and calming each other's nerves down. And it's just lovely to see. That's what I love seeing. But of course the main thing that I like to see is them coming back to me and saying, Vogue have come along and seen what I've done and put it in Vogue, or I've had this great press, or I've met this great person, or I've got a sales contract with Barney's. That's what I get really excited about. My working day is about supporting individuals and then looking at the landscape in which they're operating. So I work with two hats. I'm looking at individual clients who come to Creative Scotland and what they need for their creativity, and I'm also looking at the landscape strategically and thinking, do they need business development support? If we can provide that, do they need development? Do they need incubation? Is there a talent scheme required? Does it need a skills initiative? Do we need a broker? And I'm thinking about all those things, and then I try to look at that with industry and partners to develop those things that will help them as a group. I think it's kind of a hard thing to say, because in actual fact a lot of things I'm proud of are a lot of things that they don't say.
Okay, which are?
That they're making work for amazing brands around the world, and they don't say that they're doing it. And it's like, you're doing what? With who? Don't you think you should tell somebody about that? And so I'm really proud of where they're operating and the level they're operating and the work they're creating, but it's time for them to shout about it a little bit more.